I did.
All right, let me go live from here now. Hold on, y'all. Okay. I see us. I'm gonna have to keep that muted. Sean, are we live on Instagram? Oh.
I'm looking for it right now, Kofi. I don't see it. I'm refreshing my page right now.
Okay.
I'm on Do Not Disturb, so.
I don't see it, Kofi.
It's it says
It says it.
hold on, let me do this. Okay. All right. We should be live now. Refresh
Hey,
the
Kofi.
page.
I see it. I see it. We good. We
All
good. We
right.
good. Yes,
All
sir.
right.
I see it. We good. Let's do it.
Go, Griot, go, Griot, go, Griot. Yeah, I'm in the city, yeah, I'm in the spot, in the vicinity. I'm the hottest up in the city, yeah, it really is. I studied the ones that was the realest, the illest, that invented that. Talking about Griots, West African passages for the streets, though. Adios mio, make it get about the Afro-Latinos. Rock their traditions from Africa's West Central. Let's raise a toast to the ancestors of old. For the knowledge comes in the form of a griot. In the form of a griot.
Hey,
All right. Go ahead.
Hey, Kofi. For those that don't know, we on Instagram right now, and we are live. And that thing look good, Kofi. I'm gonna tell you right now. I'll give you the report back. That thing look good, Kofi. It's a good idea.
No doubt. So, for those who are on Instagram, let me go over here too. For those who are on Instagram, peace. We're not gonna be over here long, so we're gonna only be over here for about 20 minutes, and
Hey,
then
Kofi. We here for a good time, not a long time.
Yeah, good time, not a long time. So we're only gonna be on Instagram for about 20 minutes, and if y'all want to see the full thing live, y'all have to go over to Kofi Piesie TV to the Griots Podcast Season 2, Episode 6, Secret Society. So we're only just gonna be on here for 20 minutes to tease you.
20 minutes.
Yeah.
Trey Songz say, I don't want to leave.
Yes.
But I gotta go right now.
Yes, and just jump right over.
But I gotta go right
now. You almost, Sean. This is hilarious.
Yeah. So, so welcome back to the Griots Podcast. I am Kofi Piesie. I'm an author, a writer, a ghostwriter, a publisher, a podcaster, a music producer, amongst other things.
What up? It's your man Sean P. Man, I ain't nobody, but I just go live on Instagram. I ain't nobody. I just go live. I just press buttons. You know what I'm talking about? Nah, but I'm the man Sean P. I am a fellow author, public speaker, host, curator of literacy and libations here in the local area, and welcome to the Griots Podcast, man. Pull up, get a pen, get a piece of paper, and listen to my sister drop her bars.
Yo, what up, good people? My name is Dr. Ashley Wade. I am a pharmacist. I'm an author. I'm a podcast host and the host of Corks and Covers Silent Book Club in Dallas, Texas at the Berkshire Farm Winery. I'm a community and literacy advocate. I love connecting with people. And the highlight of my week this week is tapping in with my good bros on the Griots Podcast. I'm so excited to be here with y'all today with my good bros and everybody that's tuning in. Today's going to be phenomenal. I cannot wait for you guys to get this good information we about to dispel.
Yes. So real quick, again, I see somebody else popped on. Like I said, we won't be on YouTube, not YouTube, but Instagram long. We'll be on here for 20 minutes. And then if you want to continue to watch the podcast, you'll have to go over to the YouTube side on Kofi Piesie TV. Look for the Griots Podcast Season 2, Episode 6, entitled Secret Societies.
Hey, for all our guests, man, you ever go to the mall in your local area? You go to the food court in the mall, there's normally a nice young lady sitting there with a tray of chicken on the stick. Ooh, that chicken on the stick. But if you want that full entree, you gotta go over there and get that full plate, man. So come over to the YouTube side. We got a full plate for y'all, full buffet. It's gonna be a very informational show. I'm very excited and proud about this particular episode. It's gonna be crazy.
Yes. So peace to the people in the chat on both sides. This break, we're gonna get an outline real quick before we get into it. So the outline for the Griots Podcast is the opening segment. We're gonna always honor a teacher, a scholar, a writer, or author, a revolutionary, or someone from the past or the present. That is will be by my brother Seanathan Polidore, the Griots, Seanathan the Griots Polidore. The Griot or Griots segment is a segment that we briefly inform you or those who may not know what a griot or a griot or a griotis is. That's my part, commercial segment. Briefly promote our books and products or anybody else's books and products that want to be promoted. Discussion segment. Today's discussion segment will be about secret societies or organizations and societies who have contributed in their communities and worldwide. Women, a segment is where we'll briefly be talking and giving flowers to the women who have contributed something of value, whether it's the political world, the writing world, author world, business world, medical world, or field, or academia world. That will be by my beautiful sister, Dr. Ashley Wade. So there's the outline. So we always want to break it down and give you an outline so you will know exactly what will be in store. So the first segment is the opening segment by our brother Seanathan the Griots Polidore.
Thank you very much for that, Kofi. Yes, today's opening segment, let me get super ultra serious on this, man. We're giving a shout out to the late, great, the father of Black studies, right? My man, Professor Nathan Hare. He just passed recently, like I'm talking about like a couple weeks ago. Recently, I had to make him this episode's opening segment honoring the ancestor spotlight, right? For those that don't know who Professor Nathan Hare is, the father of Black studies. In 1961, he became an instructor and assistant professor in sociology at Howard University in Washington, D.C. Some of his students include Stokely Carmichael and Claude Brown. Later in September 1966, he wrote a letter to the editor of The Hilltop, which is Howard University's student newspaper, speaking against the university president because he had a plan to turn the university student body to 60% white by 1970. That's crazy. Howard University is known for being the mecca of Black schooling and scholarship. He wanted to make it 60% white. That's ridiculous. So as a result, Hare was fired in 1967. In 1968, he joined the faculty at San Francisco State College, now at San Francisco State University, and became the program coordinator of the school's Black Studies program, the first in the United States. He earned him the title of the father of Black studies by scholars. As the program coordinator, he created the term ethnic studies to replace the more pejorative minority studies. He battled with college administration and left the college just a year later in 1969. Needing a way to express his thoughts and ideas to others, he founded the scholarly periodical called The Black Scholar, a journal of Black studies and research in 1969. He left the journal in 1975 to work as a clinical psychologist in the community, health programs, hospitals, and in private practice. In 1979, he co-founded the Black Think Tank with his wife, Julia Hare. The Black Think Tank addressed the problems and concerns that plague the African American community. Kofi, if I can, give me a couple minutes right quick on this. I'm going to tell the audience something right fast. So, in my studies to prepare for this episode, I'm not going to say that I looked at every Black studies book there is in the world. That's impossible. But I randomly selected a large number of Black study books because I wanted more background on this particular person for the show. You would not believe how many books I pulled on Black studies that did not even mention this man. Can you imagine that, Kofi? Can you imagine 30, 40 years from now, somebody trying to do a study on the Griots Podcast, and you can't find nothing on Kofi? You be like, how's that possible? Didn't Kofi make the Griots? Like, I was so appalled frustrated, upset. When I'm looking at Black Studies, the cover of the book is clear as day. This is Black Studies. Black Studies, blah, blah, blah. And you being the man that helped to make this thing is barely even mentioned back to using the whole book. You go to the index of the book at the very, very back. You can find the important people, places, or whatever that's mentioned in the book. If I pull this book on the deltas and I go to the index and I can't find certain historical people for the deltas, I probably shouldn't read this book, right? I probably shouldn't pick this up, right?
Right.
Dr. Greg Carr is the only scholar I've ever seen talk about that on his show, the Class with Carr. If you saw my brand new book, he gonna say, go to the index. he gonna say, is this person mentioned up in there? They be like, no, I don't see him. Well, is this person mentioned up in there? They be like, no, I don't see him. He be like, man, like put that to the side. Like,
I see.
We are vetting. That's the word. We are vetting our information. We ain't just taking this anything. I want to put a little time on that because that really, really disturbed me. Pulling up multiple books on Black Studies, and I can't find what I need about a man that helped to spearhead that thing, man. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Nathaniel Harris, father of Black Studies, because I mean, when you talked about him, I'll be honest, you mentioned him the other last week, I think that was. I never heard of the brother before, man. Never heard of the brother before. Or is this a thing connected to him, the father of Black Studies, right? So I definitely appreciate you, man, sharing that information out. And I'm gonna have to do some more research on it myself, man. And that's crazy. I took some of these stuff when you dealing with Black Studies and stuff like that in school, man, in college, man, and no one ever referred to this individual at all, man.
Now, Kofi, isn't it strange that Biggie Small said, you're nobody until somebody kills you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, until you die, you're not really. So, until the man passed a couple weeks ago, I didn't even know who he was.
Mm-hmm.
And, we spend double-digit years in this space of consciousness and Africana studies,
Right.
all kinds of studies, African studies, Black studies. I have never even seen this man until he passed on the obituary. That's horrible for the community.
And you know what? I think it's important too for the message to go forward that it is our responsibility to learn about our people. You know what I'm saying? Leaving it up to people to teach us, even like as Kofi said, in African American studies programs, you don't hear about half the people who were creators, who were pioneers in this movement of African studies. And we can say movement because, it takes organization. And I'm so glad that we're about to tap into that later on in the podcast.
Yep. And like Carter G. Wilson said, right? It's you have to give yourself, the African American man and woman and child have to give themselves two education. One education that is given to them, and the other education that they give to themselves, right? So I definitely agree with what you just said,
Cool. Let
Dr.
me shoot
Ashley
on
Wade.
that right quick. I was telling Dr. Wade this weeks ago. My whole time in college, right? I would put in my work in the schoolwork, reading the content, writing the papers and all that. But I made sure for every college class I took, I was reading 3 or 4 of our books.
Mm-hmm.
I did my whole time in college like that. I'm not just reading y'all books. I'm not just taking y'all information. I'm going to do what I got to do to pass my class. But I'm going to spend way more time reading our stuff.
Yes.
And the papers I was writing was about our stuff. The data that I'm quoting is about our stuff. I told Dr. Wade that a few weeks ago. I did my whole college journey like that, man. And I'm proud of that.
Yeah, most definitely. I wish I would have did.
Did that. Always like here. Sean is like
you. So the next segment is the Griot segment. And again, peace to those who are on the Instagram side. We got maybe about 5 or 6 more minutes, and we're gonna cut this stream. And if you want the full experience, right, you have to come over to the YouTube side to finish watching this phenomenal show that we're gonna have today. Yes. So the next segment is the Griot and Griottes segment, right? So a lot of people that has been following myself, Sean, and Dr. Ashley Wade, they know what a Griot and a Griottes is, right? But we're going to keep repeating these things because we always have new people who stumble on the podcast or who may stumble upon me or Dr. Ashley Wade or Sean, right? So we're gonna definitely just keep reiterating these things. And even for those who follow us and maybe have forgot, we want to keep reiterating these things and hopefully that you take heed of these things, right? Because a lot of you are already serving those capacities as well, and acknowledge yourself, right? And then make and let it be your responsibility, you know what I'm saying, to continue to push whatever capacity of a griot or a griotis that you are in, right? So a griot, right? A griot is a unique Western African uh, unique to West Africa. The griot or jelly, right? That is one of the professional names. Jelly that you might see encompass many roles. Pronounced griot has been referred to as historians and storytellers. That's what most people know that griots and the griotes is. Like most people, we do ask, and they be like, okay, they're a storyteller, or they might say they're a historian, or they might say they're a historian and a storyteller. But the griot and a historian, I mean, a griot is more than a historian and a storyteller. They serve in so many different capacities. What capacities all they can serve? They are genealogists, they are spokespersons, they are ambassadors, they are musicians, they are teachers, they are warriors, they are interpreters, they are praise singers, they are masters of ceremonies, they are advisors, they are negotiations, they are mediators. Not every griotis does all these things, but these are an example in the functions of the griot or the griotis professionals embodiment, right? So every griot or grioti does not serve in those capacities, but they may serve in multiple capacities. Musician, if I didn't thing, that is one of the most popular things as well, being a musician. But a lot of people don't know that they are warriors, so they are warriors as well, right? So that concludes the griots and the griotis segment. um for me. Now we'll go into the commercial segment, but this segment we won't run down through the whole book because we right now been in promoting mode of our new book. So let me do this.
Red Ranger energy.
So here you have it. We have the new book, Acting on Your Dreams and Your Visions, right? By myself, Dr. Ashley Wade, and my brother, Seanathan Polidore, right? This book is been out almost a month now. We have been getting great reviews. Yeah, it ain't been that long. So we have been getting great reviews for this book, right? So if you support us, go get a copy. If you want to be motivated and inspired, go get a copy. If you want to understand the process, go get a copy. If you want to understand how to take your dreams and turn them into goals and make them action items, go get this copy, right? If you want to know more about our backgrounds and the triumphs we've been through, go get this copy. Go get you a copy of Acting on Your Dreams and Your Visions today by going to www.same3differentbrandspublishing.com. Y'all got anything far as this book, before we jump into the main course?
Dr. Wade?
So important. This is from the heart, from us. It's about banding together to activate our own ideas and our own purposes. And, the world will be a better place once we get activated and our lights are turned on and our gifts are being used. You know what I'm saying? And we hope that you guys continue to enjoy it and share it with others. Shout out to my homegirl, Miss Nikki. She's in the chat. She actually brought her copy to Corks and Covers at the winery for me to autograph. So it's really creating a sense of community, and really activating within each other. I mean, we learned with this book, I learned so much about Kofi and Sean, and they learned so much about me. And then we put our, all our razzle down on the paper. So it's a beautiful piece of work. Thank you so much. Shout out to Kofi Piesie for spearheading this project. Incredible piece of work.
Yes. Nah, man. Dr. Wade said it all, bro. That's good right there, man. I'm good.
Okay, so shout out to Miss Nikki. She's in the chat. She was over on the Instagram side. We can't wait to be on your platform as well, sis.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So but anyway, on the Instagram side, y'all, we finna say goodbye on the Instagram side. So if you want to see the rest of this
Hey man, the
podcast,
show about to
right?
go up. The
Right.
show about to go up. You want to come
Yes.
on over here while you can?
Yes. So come on over on the YouTube
Have a safe
side.
flight.
So
Yeah,
again,
man.
we appreciate those who popped in and popped out on the Instagram side. Peace on the Instagram side. So let me end it. So we have ended on the Instagram side. So all right. So let's get into it. So the next segment is the discussion segment, right? So we're
Main
definitely
event.
going to
Main
be
event.
talking about a lot of things that some of you may know, some of you may not know. I'm asking, y'all to please take out a pen and a piece of paper, right?
Yeah, man.
Because it's going to get very educational
Oh,
right
cool.
now. Mhm.
This particular episode got an interesting title to it, man. Interesting flyer,
Mhm.
Mhm.
interesting images.
Mhm.
So these secret societies, Kofi, what are we talking about? Is it the Illuminati? We talking about Jay-Z, Rick Ross. We talking about some what? Some
We said
private.
something about Beyonce. We said something about.
What we going with this whole? Where we going with this, Kofi?
Yeah, they're gonna think we talking about secret societies, but we definitely gonna be talking about societies and organization. You know what I'm saying? But it's not the Illuminati. You know, a lot of people may have
Sure.
thought that's what we were gonna definitely be talking about, the Illuminati.
Okay.
But we're definitely gonna be talking about some benefactors that contribute to the world, contributed to their community, contributed things from state to state, worldwide, man. So
Yes,
let's
sir.
get into it, man. So how y'all want to do um one at a time? Well, I go then and that because we got two apiece. We want to
Yeah.
inform, so
I
we'll
think that'd
just
be pretty cool to go one at a time, and then we come back
mhm.
around again.
Okay.
Cool.
Round
So
one,
most
round two.
With it,
That's a
I'm with
pretty
it.
good idea. I
all
like
right.
that.
Okay.
Mhm.
So y'all want me to go first?
Yeah.
Dr. Ashley Wade or Sean? It don't matter. It don't
Let
matter.
Dr. Wade go first. Let lady go
Okay.
first.
Okay, I'm
Let
cool with
the
it.
lady lead.
Yo, first of all, this exploration of secret societies was so cool from a woman's standpoint. I definitely y'all had to know I was about to come in and research some of the Black organizations that were prominent, started, led, built by Black women, and it was so vast the amount of information that I saw. So I condensed it because, of course, we ain't got all day, but I hope that this inspires you to do your own research. Kofi told you to get your pen and paper. Like, this is going to be a whole place. So the first organization that I want to introduce you to is the National Association of Colored Women. One thing that I do also want to say, too, before I get started, this is a call out to demonstrate how amazing Black women work in working together. Because, again, you got Real Housewives, you got reality TV telling you we can't get along, we can't create. We always into it, we petty, you know what I'm saying? And I want to take this opportunity to demonstrate that there were hundreds of thousands of Black women working together, accomplishing incredible things. But keep that in the front of your mind versus this crappy situation that is out there called reality, right? So the National Association of Colored Women, right, was predating. We talking about before the NAACP, before the Urban League. There was this organization, right? So the National Association of Colored Women was the first national Black organization in the United States and has proved to be one of the longest lasting. Founded in 1896, National Association of Colored Women. Their roots lay in the decades of local political activity by African American women. Okay, talk about politics, right? This activity often took the form of women's clubs and was the result of heightened racism and a need for social services within the Black community, and also dealing with the exclusionary policies of many white-run organizations, because there's a ton of them. When white women was out in the streets, they were building, all that was going on. They wasn't thinking about what was the Black story or the Black women. Lots of white women were active, you know what I'm saying? And they were creating certain services for their people, again, leaving out the black folks, our people. But this wonderful organization was created so that, you know, we could start to create solutions for our own people, right? Okay. Mary Church Terrell was the first president, and lots of people are going to know this quote right here, lifting as we climb. And I want to spend 30 seconds on that. Again, it goes back to what I just said. We often refer to crabs in a barrel. Oh, we doing this. We breaking each other down. We need to highlight lifting as we climb. Make sure you write that down. This is not just for women. Everybody listening, lifting as we climb. This has to be a demonstration. It has to be a demonstration, lifting as we climb. So a series of events have facilitated the emergence of this organization. In 1895, a national convention of Black women was called to respond to a racist letter sent by James Jacks, who was a Southern journalist, to a British reformer. This is what it said. Jacks wrote that Blacks lacked morality and that Black women were prostitutes, natural liars, and thieves. Because of the local clubs and the organizations that were built across the country, these Black women were able to respond quickly and effectively to this letter. Let me tell you what they did. They were involved in a variety of projects to address problems of health, housing, education, and working conditions, and to create a social space for Black women. It was the primary organization through which African American women channeled their reform efforts. Embodied in their slogan, lifting as we climb, was a commitment, come on now, not only to improve their own situation, but to aid the less fortunate. They built schools, ran orphanages, founded homes for the aged, set up kindergarten programs, and formed agencies in New York and Philadelphia to help female migrants from the South find jobs and affordable housing. Black women who formed the backbone of this association were primarily middle class. That's important because then we get the NAACP that's like upper, right? Okay. So they really helped to get people involved. They provided material assistance through daycare, health services, job training. So that just goes to show like they was really in their bag. This was in 1890s. So that's a list. This is a chunk. And you can continue to do your research on this organization. And it still exists. There are still chapters across college campuses in towns and cities near you. This organization, 1896, still active, still has, college students involved in it. So I just wanted to paint this picture of what African American women were doing. And to me, talking about these secret societies and organizations, who knew about it? That's the point. National Association of Colored Women. You heard that in your Black Studies program?
No.
They talk about that on Black History Month?
No.
Exactly. So again, that's what we're doing here today is uncovering these organizations that you ain't never heard of, but was popping, and they had hundreds of thousands of members, not just the little 2 or 3 that get together after church. You see what I'm saying? Hundreds of thousands of clubs and community organizations all across the country. What up, Sean P?
Yeah. I want to go ahead and join you with this conversation, right? Because it's about books, it's about literacy. Find the book out there, y'all, called Black Fortunes. Black Fortunes. Find that book because it highlights like 6 people that were some of the first Black millionaires in the country, right? Ever. Her daddy, Mary Church Terrell, prominent Black woman. You find her across all kind of Black books. Her daddy, Robert Church Terrell, Robert, right? Robert Church. We all know Black Wall Street, Tulsa, Oklahoma, everything, right? They said that her daddy, Robert Church, had Memphis popping more than Black Wall Street. That's not talked about. He had Memphis popping more than Black Wall Street. And her brother was prominent as well. So I'm saying this to say because no person came out of nowhere. No person came down like Superman from another planet and just dropped on Earth. Like every great person that we have, look at their lineage, look at their bloodline, look at what they were steeped in, right? So I want to highlight that to go along. Black Fortunes. And there's an amazing Black female in that book as well.
Yeah, I want to give y'all another book too. Give me a second, cause that's funny. I mean, well, let me get a book first. The book is called Righteous Disconnect. And if I would have been thinking, I would have pulled the book off the I probably would have pulled the book off the shelf. Let me go back to it again. I don't went past it. Hold on, let me go back in here again because I want to get his book out because I want to explain something else that you just said real quick, Dr. Ashley Wade. Let me go back in here. Okay, it's
While Kofi pulling that up, let me ask the words right quick. So in the Black Fortunes publication, they also mentioned Annie Turbine, who is known to be the person that schooled Madam C.J. Walker, and also she's known to have a lot more fortune. We know that Madam C.J. Walker, in her own right, prominent early millionaire, but Annie Turbine is the person that gave her the ingredients, gave her the game, and is known to be a very prominent, fortunate person as well.
She definitely also worked. Madam C.J. Walker also worked for her at one point in time, right? You know, even some of her products mirrored Annie Turbo thing, and even Anna Turbo, her even they don't talk about how she was African centered. She had a product called Poro. Poro is from out of West Africa, Liberia, Sierra Leone, right? With the Poro society, right? Those are Poro is the men's society, right? But you have the Bondo and the Sandy, which resembles that. But the book is Righteous Disconnect, the woman's movement in the Black Baptist Church from 1880 to 1920. By Evelyn Brooks Higginbotham. And this is where I learned about some of the things that you're talking about, Dr. Ashley Wade. And those people, they adopted what I call the talented 10 ideology. A lot of people, when we talk about, because I'm going to talk about W.D. Du Bois in a minute, because he was a part of this organization that actually did some of the same things that the women did, because this was an ideology. Even though W.D. Du Bois wrote a paper about the talented 10, it was an ideology to, at that particular time, there were people that wasn't going to college. So the each one teach one thing was very prominent. So whatever I learned, it was our duty to share it. It was our duties to build institutions. It was our duties to push literature. It was our duties to write our books. It was our duties, to appreciate liberal arts and sciences and things like that. So this is definitely a great book where it talks about so many different women, and those women were the talented team. Like you got the men, you got the women that was also a part of the talented team, and some of those people in that organization that you're talking about, Dr. Ashley Wade, was definitely that. This is a great. I'm not saying this book I just named is also a great book. So where we want to go next? You want me to go on and jump on mine, Sean, or you want to go?
Go ahead, get in that thing, man.
Okay,
it's all cooked.
Okay, so let's go into another organization. Let's go into, how many of you heard of the African Negro Society that was started in 1896, around the same time frame that Dr. Ashley Wade was talking about, right? So let's let me see. So I'll name some of the members. Some of these members y'all might be familiar with. Right. So you have Alex Cromwell, who formed the American Negro Society. We'll talk about him. W.D. Du Bois was also a member of the American Negro Society, and at one point was the head of the American Negro Society. Later on, you have Paul Lawrence Dunbar. A lot of you may be familiar with Paul Dunbar is. Right. You got Carter G. Wilson was also a member of the American Negro Society. You have John Wesley Cromwell. You had William H. Cromwell. You had Alan Locke. You had Robert Pathan Jr. You had Alfonso Schomburg. George Washington Henderson. You had so many great Richard Wright, not the Richard Wright that did those. That's one of my mentors, not him. It's another guy. I know a lot of times when I mention Richard Wright, people will go back to the author that wrote so many phenomenal novels. Black Power is one of my favorites. in particular. This was produced in 1954 or 1952, even though people say that Stokely Carmichael coined the phrase Black Power. But if you go back, this is 1952. Stokely's message at that particular time was in the 60s. But man, it's so many different people I can name that was a part of this American Negro Society. At one point, I can't go back and find it, so don't quote me on this, y'all. But I have said this in numerous occasions that the American Negro Society was one point the African Negro Society, or the Negro Academy. The Academy, the African Negro Academy, which became the American Negro Academy. I can't find the book that has it in there where it was a political move to change it from the African Negro Academy to the American Negro Academy. This was suggested by Paul Laurence Dunbar, who was also an official member of the American Negro Academy, right? So, wow, this is crazy. Hold on, y'all. Let me see if I can't. Okay, here it is. So again, the founding purpose of founded on March the 5th, 1897 in Washington, D.C. by Reverend Alexander Cromwell. Now, the American Negro Academy was established to promote higher education, the arts, sciences amongst African Americans, and to foster an intellectual culture that would advance the social political status. So at that particular time, we're not too far removed. The Emancipation Proclamation was 1865. So maybe almost around 20 years later, they believed that to be an intellectual, to be educated, right, would push the African American in a better social status if we educated ourselves. So the American Negro Academy promoted higher education, right? So, and Alexander Cromwell was a reverend. At that particular time, a lot of these people in the historical record around the 19th century, a lot of these intellectuals was preachers, was reverends, right? A lot of these schools was produced out of some of these churches, right? These black churches, right? And some white churches. That's a whole other story. But Alexander Cromwell was also intellectual. He went to college. He went to several different colleges. He went to Liberia for a long period of time, where he went over there and he established a school over there in Liberia. So not only did he work before he put the work in over here, he went to Liberia in West Africa, right, and staked his flag there to push higher education, arts, and sciences, as well as build a school and a mega church over there. Then he came back later on and established the American Negro Academy. I just talked about some of the members like Paul Laurence Dunbar, who also is an author, who wrote short stories, and also a poet, right? W.E.B. Du Bois, right? I know a lot of you know who W.E.B. Du Bois is, right? We have studied some of the Carter G. Woodson. We have talked about some of these members as well, but the members, you had not only poets, you had authors, you had people who wrote short stories, you had doctors, you had a well-rounded a group of individuals who came together, right, to push higher education back into their communities, right? The objective of the American Negro Academy aimed to defend African American against racist attacks in scholarly circles, produce literature that challenge and pervade negative stereotypes that promote the academic advancement of African Americans. And we just seen that with what Dr. Ashley Wade was talking about. You see those nasty stereotypes that they was giving those beautiful black intelligent women, right? It was the same thing far as the men, right? And, denying us access to education, denying us access into some of these college institutions. So it was a privilege when you did go. It was a must that you go back into your communities and share this information that you're learning at these institutions. So publications, the academia publish occasional papers, which include scholarly works, lectures by its members. These publications address a wide range of topics from history, sociology to theology and race relationship, right? So this is the American Negro Academy. Some of the members are my heroes, and this is how I formulate my company afterwards, and even my slogan. As I learn, we all learn, right? All of this comes from me reading the literature and studying a lot of these individuals in the American Negro Academy, advancing it and trying to bring it forth in the 21st century and stand on these men's shoulder and stand on these women's shoulders, right? And do exactly what they were trying to do. They was trying to make our people literate, because again, at that particular time, there was a lot of illiterate Black people coming out of slavery, right? So we're trying to continue to push the narrative of intellectual, you know what I'm saying, intelligence, right? Education, appreciating the arts, science, you know what I'm saying, race relationships and so forth, right? So there you have it with the American Negro Academy.
I want to hop on the back of that right quick, man. A lot of the names that you listed on your list, whenever I'm looking at the index in a lot of my favorite books, these names are all throughout most of these publications. A lot of names you just listed, if you go on the index of some of your favorite books, you probably come across a large bit of these names left and right. So once again, it's important to highlight the actual scholarship, actual studies. Got to always keep emphasis on that.
Facts. And can I hop on the back of that real quick, Sean P? Because before you go into your segment, this is the beauty of studying nonfiction. I just ran into a sister at an event, and we were talking about books and reading, and she was like, "Well, I really don't, and she made sure to let me know I don't read nonfiction. I read fiction. Not that anything is wrong with that, but these are the types of things that as we learn, it empowers us individually. Because now we know what the spread would actually look like as far as what we did and the history, and we can empower and ignite the energy in the future generations based off what our ancestors did. So like nonfiction is a whole play. Don't let it fool you. It's not boring. It's not, oh, I got to study. Like, it is empowering. It's beautiful to uncover these things that we did. Like we're legacy of these people. We're legacy of these organizations. That's all I want to drop in there,
yes.
Sean.
And it's empowering, right? So it's empowering too. Like it gives you, and it's important because not only that it empowers you, it raises your self-esteem. And it's important to push this off on our children because they're not getting this type of education in the schools, right? Or in the food system. Right. So once they understand these things, because once I became adult and I started reading, you know what I'm saying, nonfiction, right? It only empowered me, man, and it raised my self-esteem, right? And made me want to take responsibility, right? And start pushing a positive narrative when it comes to us and pushing the contributions that our ancestors made to the world, right? So it's very important, right?
Wait a minute, Kofi. You mean whenever Birdman was in that prison down there in New Orleans last week, and the prisoner said, "Man, we need some more resources. We need some more books. We need more resources."
Come on, Sean.
Birdman, like, you want some books? You think that book's gonna change those situations? You mean that book's gonna help somebody out, Kofi? Read books?
That's crazy. But I done heard that ignorant statement so many times from the community that I come from, bro. It's crazy, man, how you will make a statement like that. And even I was saying, I told you a while back here, man, I was talking to a young boy. I was trying to interview, to promote our book, interview a lot of the young people and ask them about their dreams, right? And, and me interviewing one of the young guys and we're trying to get him to purchase the book, man, he made the same statement. So those ignorant statements, man, I hear them so much, man. And that's why it's important for the things that we are doing, that we continue to do what we're doing collectively and separately, right? To continue to change the narrative, man, that it's okay to be intelligent. It's okay to read literature, right? It's okay to study those who came before us, right? It's okay to have accountability, self-accountability about the things that goes on in our community and the things that we can do to actually affect positive change, right? So, you know.
Yeah. So let's get into it, right? So let me give y'all a little tidbit. The Griots Podcast, because this episode to me, the reason why we're doing this episode, I told Kofi and Dr. Wade, it's called Secret Societies. It's only a play on words, obviously, right at this point. But the thing is, I want to go to the actual origin of some of these organizations. Why did the founders feel a need to start this thing? Why was there a need to have these goals and these aims we're trying to continue on? Why did it start, right? So the beginning of the Griots Podcast, let's not forget all the merchandise and the coffee mugs and the other bells and whistles. We got books, we got other things we're doing. The beginning for this whole thing was books. The foundation is literature. The foundation is literacy. We never getting away from that. So whenever Kofi and I and Dr. Wade, whenever we say, all right, y'all, today's topic gonna be about the black church, like last year. The fun for me is scouring my library at the house. And I'm pulling off all these books, trying to find whatever the topic is. I didn't say go on Amazon and gotta fill up my little cart and buy all these books. I didn't say go to the local library trying to find out. You have your home library and you've invested in yourself to have a home library. Any given topic that we covering, I find so much joy going through all my shelves. I got books everywhere on the floor, looking at certain things, right? And I'm gonna go further on that later on in this conversation. But I just want to tell the audience, as we're doing these shows, we are learning a lot in that process. We are only covering 2 societies apiece in this episode for time's sake. I could have literally covered, I had a whole list of societies to choose from to where to narrow it down, right? And so my first society I'm talking about, I chose to go right here in my own backyard, New Orleans, Louisiana. I've never heard of it before in my life. The Universal Association of Ethiopian Women.
Wow.
This is 1957 in New Orleans. Right here in my backyard. I've never heard nor seen this before in my life. Right? I'm going to do it again for those that's writing this down. Universal Association of Ethiopian Women. Right? Founded by Audley Moore. Some of y'all might know her as Queen Mother Moore. Dr. Greg Carr talks about Queen Mother Moore all the time for years, right? So this group is a grassroots Pan-Africanism social justice for Black women organization associated with the teachings of Marcus Garvey and Black empowerment. Actively fought against racism and sexism in New Orleans, i.e., wrongful imprisonment and welfare rights, right? Pioneered the reparations movement in the U.S., operated from 1957 to 1963, but left a lasting impact. I'm going to give y'all a little bit more right here, right? I'm going to give y'all a little bit. So this was made to advance Black nationalist and internationalist politics. Dr. Wade and I talk about international things all the time, the importance of understanding that. The organization represented the blending of various strands of Black nationalism and the convergence of both older and newer nationalist expressions, right? The platform emphasized reparations, welfare rights for Black women, and provided legal aid for Black men who have been wrongfully accused of rape. I say again, Black men who have been wrongfully accused of rape, right? So this book, I want to say for Dr. Wade's segment, it's called Set the World on Fire by Professor Keisha Blaine. There's a little glare on the screen. Set the World on Fire. This book covers hundreds of Black women organizations, including the one Dr. Wade mentioned earlier, that's in this book, right? And so it says, Black nationalist women and the global struggle for freedom. So right now, all this stuff going on, you know, all the war stuff going on, some Black folks feel like, man, why I'm worried about that? Why I'm worried about what's going on in Israel? Why I'm worried about what's going on in Pakistan? Our Black people always understood the global struggle. What happens to our brothers and sisters happens to me.
Speak.
Didn't they say I'm not free until we all free?
Fannie
Right.
Lou.
So I'm gonna leave it at that for my first segment, but definitely dig into a publication like this. Keisha Blaine set the world on fire.
And going back to this Universal Association of Ethiopian Women, I want to hone in on the word Ethiopia.
Okay.
I did a presentation. I'm a lecturer as well. So a lot of my books come from the thousands of lectures I've been doing since 15 up until 2022. So I did something on the Ethiopia church, and there's a book that I've been entertaining about doing also that I particularly may do. So I'm drawing a correlation between the word Pan-Africanism, right? Where did these ideals for Pan-Africanism come from? Pan means all, right? You said you mentioned that we have to look at things globally, not just here. So we have to, so whatever affects our people over here, in the long run, it's going to affect our people over here. It might be affecting our people simultaneously. So we need to be trying to work together to make it better for us, whether it's social, politically, or economically, right? So the Ethiopian church, you know what I'm saying, was birthed the ideals. This is what I'm saying from my research. And I'm going to do a book, and this may be my opinion. I could be far off, but just researching the person who started the Ethiopian church and how it connected in America, and how it actually did birth Pan-Africanism, you know what I'm saying, where we all, because it says right here, it says this organization, it focuses on the grassroots of Pan-Africanism. But this grassroots is Pan-Africanism, right? So Pan-Africanism is for all Africans, right? That's what Pan means. It means that we are trying to unite, you know what I'm saying, and create a better life for us socially, political, economically, spiritually, mentally, and so forth, right? So when I seen that, you know what I'm saying, I definitely got to go do some more research on that. But I can really resonate with what Queen Mother Moore did and what this organization did, because its roots actually birthed Pan-Africanism, or the ideal of Pan-Africanism.
Hey, Kofi, you know what else too? I want to say this. I want to say this too. So Kofi and I go to New Orleans sometimes. Y'all seen us at Baldwin and Company. Y'all seen us doing other things too. I want to go to New Orleans one day and really, really look and see if there's any buildings somewhere, maybe that might be left where they would meet at and they were organized. If there is any kind of documentation somewhere, maybe archive in the library or something down there in New Orleans. I would love to really dig into it and really go and touch and see and film. More importantly, film some of the things that might be out there. I'm gonna start doing some real digging and trying to get some real roots laid down on that.
Yeah, man. We definitely. Definitely. I need to break in my new camera, man. So yeah, most definitely.
Your gadgets
are necessary, okay? But I do also want to emphasize grassroots, because now in this day and age with social media, everybody wants to be social media important. You know what I'm saying? I'm one of those people. But in all seriousness, like, this is why we do what we do. We have found that our leaders were grassroots driven. They were, what they say, lift up from the bottom. Like, when you go and you try to connect with people, when we create these events, literacy and libations, corks and covers, whatever we're working on, this is our version of grassroots. Connecting with people, bringing folks into the literacy world, bringing folks in for discussion. Grassroots is such an important tool for organizing, and people skip over that because they want to go straight to the big things, the big organization. But you don't have no organization if you don't have the people.
Yes, that's a fact. Definitely a fact. All right. So it's on you, Dr. Ashley Wade.
Oh, it's back on me. Oh, I like how that table came right on back around to me. I love it. And I want to start by saying that even like finishing up with the National Association that I mentioned earlier of colored women, by 1924, it had reached 100,000 members. So this is what we have to keep in mind in this generation. Whatever we're creating, whatever we're doing, lots of people were involved back then, and it makes you and us take inventory of what we are doing. because a lot of times in our daily lives, our daily situations, we're like, okay, I work, I come home, I got these responsibilities. I ain't got time to get organized. I ain't got time to be connecting at Corks and Covers or, at these organizations, but that's not true. You have to facilitate that. It is each of our responsibilities. So the next one that I wanted to talk about is leading up. Okay, so you have in 1919, you have the Federation of the Colored Women's Club. Like there were so many of those organizations early, 1919, 1920, 1935. Like this was still work built off from, the original organizations. So this next one that I want to talk about is the National Council of Negro Women. This was another one of those organizations. It has been among the most influential African-American women's organizations of the 20th century, particularly under the guidance of its founder, Mary McLeod Bethune, which I'm sure you all have heard of her. If you haven't, write that name down. And its later president, Dorothy Height. Bethune seized on the idea of an umbrella organization to bring together the skills and experience of Black women in a variety of organizations. This national council would provide leadership and guidance to make African American women's voices heard in every arena of social and political life. It was founded in New York City on December 5th, 1935, after 5 years of planning. Tap into that planning piece. After 5 years of planning, we're going to circle back around to that. The true signs of Bethune's diplomatic ability were the presence of the founding meeting of representatives of 29 organizations and the election of such important figures as Mary Church Terrell and Charlotte Hawkins Brown to leadership positions. We'll come back to that leadership position. Write that down. Okay. Bethune was elected president by unanimous vote. The effectiveness of the council and its leadership was immediately apparent. One of its areas of greatest success was labor issues. With Bethune's influence in the federal government, okay, the NCNW, in conjunction with other organizations, pressed for federal jobs for African Americans and was one of the forces behind the founding of the Fair Employment Practices Committee. Under Bethune's leadership, it also established the Afro-American Women's Journal. So these organizations had their publications to go along with them, which in 1949 became Women United. The council expressed an interest in international affairs, doubling back to what Kofi and Sean was talking about. So that whole topic has been on our tongues for years, international affairs, supporting the founding of the United Nations. Okay. Let's see. In 1935, we're going to go back and finish up by talking about Mary McLeod Bethune. So she had this idea to create this umbrella for Black women organizations, which means if it has 29, 30 or different organizations, that means that it wasn't just work that she was doing that was important. It was work that all these women were doing that was important. This led to the redefinition of NACW. So it was no longer the only national Black women's organization. So now we had two big umbrella organizations that house other smaller local chapters across the country. How incredible is that? Going back to creating opportunities for each other, right? So in 1957, the NACW changed its name and it now became the National Association of Colored Women's Clubs. Look that up. Write that down. Look that up because you will be able, they do have a website and you can find an active chapter near you in your state, city, right? They do so much service work and educational work. They fundraise. They do all these wonderful things. They talk about HIV prevention. They have scholarships for Black women. They raise money for hospitals. So I wanted to stop right here and talk about some takeaways. So in my research, I was floored by the amount of social services and things that our women were able to accomplish. So I want to highlight a couple things. These are my takeaways. Black women were creating, working together, and improving livelihood for others. We always been a backbone. And this is proof that we were really creating opportunities for each other and improving lives of others. Another thing, there were at least 100,000 active Black women. How many women do you think are active today?
Man, okay. It's not many.
It doesn't feel like it.
But we have some, but it's not many.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, are the opportunities to create and connect are there? We have to tap in. And the National Council of Negro Women's Clubs is still active in Texas. There are two different branches. There's one, it's a youth club. It's on the campus of UT Arlington for all the local people. And then in Houston, there's a branch called Women of Formation at Texas Southern University. So this goes from adults and young adults. So we all need to be in a position where we can get involved. And that's what it's so important about knowing your purpose and knowing that what your gifts are, so that when you come to the table, you can bring your talents. That's what they were talking about. Bringing your talents, your skills, your experiences in, and letting that be an opportunity to build and create. So everybody that's listening, your homework is to find where you can connect, whether it be a historical organization like the ones that we're mentioning, or Corks and Covers, Literacy and Libations. Like, as opportunities are created, people are in their creative bag, jump in connection with people. So not only so they can lead, but who knows, there may be a leadership position for you. You may be able to work on your leadership skills. You know what I'm saying? So that we can build out among each other and among our different communities.
That's awesome, man, because another reason why we highlight these kind of societies and everything, a lot of us common folks, if you read books on that, you know about some of the Divine Nine, right? You know about NAACP. It's just certain things that you kind of sort of probably heard in passing that you know about. And we are not knocking anybody's organization or none of that. That's not what we're doing right here. We are not bashing anybody. Emphasize that. But we can go to Bayou Classic and cut up, have a good time. We can go to some of these other gatherings and cut up and barbecue and, wear the jackets and do all the stepping shows and do all this stuff. But when it's time for some real community work, when it's time for some things to really be shaking and moving, we need that same kind of energy, that same kind of vigor about these things, the same way we enjoy some of the other parts of it. So you're hearing some of the foundation of all of these organizations, what they was about. Black men facing rape charges, people getting lynched. Other things are really, really happening on a visceral level back then. Things still happening right now today. We got to focus on and emphasize on that, man.
Most definitely. I appreciate you sharing that, sis. That's something I'm gonna have to look up too, and that's what I like about, and then we'll move on about this podcast. It's not a male. Even before Dr. Ashley Wade joined it, we created a segment for the women because we always want to highlight the women. And like you said, Dr. Ashley Wade, y'all are the backbone. And a lot of times, y'all get X'd out of the historical record when it comes to the things that y'all have did, you know what I'm saying, in y'all communities or things y'all have done for the world, right? So I appreciate when you share things, because I know you're always going to share things from a woman perspective. You're going to share stuff with us, you know what I'm saying, to uplift and venerate venerate the women and drive it home every time how important women was to the world, and we need to start acknowledging them as well as we acknowledge all these men that we talk about. So so
I want to also add with that, Kofi, not the way to know it from our other show that we do together, the Rebellious Women, right? But whenever I started studying the Black Panther Party, I started studying the Marcus Garvey UNIA movement. I started studying other, NAACP, other organizations, MLK and his guys. The women were always doing so much. Forget the backbone; they was doing so much lifting. But the guys are always just the face, if you will. The women was doing a lot of holding up things in a lot of different ways.
Yes. And
it's still not getting their just due is really, really tragic. It's really, really horrible. And that's why Dr. Wade and myself and Sister Billy, we do our show that we do, because we are highlighting these amazing, phenomenal women and their contributions to society.
And boy Matt is in the chat. Shout out to the history Griot. He brought up an excellent point, because he said during those times, you couldn't just say, oh, I have this idea for a nonprofit. Let me just do the application. Let me go online. Let me get my EIN number. Let me apply for these grants. Let me, that didn't exist. The timing is important, because they did way more with not even half the resources that we
Dr.
You
Wayne,
know
tell them about the Rosa Parks book that we just did, me, you, and Sister Billy. Think about what they were saying. Her and her husband had to go and sneak and have meetings at somebody's house. A lot of we're saying these organization names right now, talking freely. A lot of these organizations, back to the black church thing we did last year, me and Kofi, the black church, they're meeting in the back of a church. They're meeting in the basement of a church. They're meeting in somebody's pathway. You got to be real sneaking about it. They're trying to pass around pamphlets and information. The women, back to the women, in the Pullman Porter book I was just reading, the women were the ones that was taking certain things and passing it amongst, because the guys would get pulled over. The guys are too obvious. The women had to go and get their purse, get their overcoat, and sneak things and pass things. The females are doing that in secret. So it was real serious times back then. Once again, you get caught in a society, you're going to get lynched. You're going to lose your job. They might burn your family house up. Look at Malcolm X and his daddy. His daddy being a part of the Garvey movement. They were getting their house burned down left and right.
Yep.
They was getting a cross burned in their yard.
Yeah.
And of course, his daddy got assassinated as well for being a part of a society like that. So
Yep.
this was a dangerous time being a part of these movements.
Yep. And in real time, like Billy just said, the women are the reason a lot of the men and movements are prosper. I definitely agree with that, and I can see it in real time. I'm an active member. I'm a Freemason, and I'm a 32nd degree Freemason by that way, and I'm all the way up on the sister side. So I am a member of the Order of Eastern Star, right? And various members of their upper houses as well. And in those organizations, I'm very involved in those organizations on both sides. But the women really do all the work, and the Masonic order for the men actually prosper for all of the work that the women is doing, and they not getting their just due. This is just something I'm experiencing real time. I've been a Freemason for the last 18 years, right? And I see it with our sisters in the Order of Eastern Star, our sisters in the Lady Knights, our still sisters in the Herons of Jericho, our sisters in the Daughters of Knights, right? And the work that they actually put in behind the scene just to make the men organization look good, man. So, but I mean, like you said, we can go to the UNIA, right? We can look at the women through there, right? We can look at the Black Panther Party. We can see things, through there, man. So it's so much things, man. So shout out to the women, man. And we're gonna continue to make sure that we highlight them and they get their just due. So moving on to the next one. As me, I'm gonna do the Deacons of Defense, right? So this is another organization right here. The Deacons of Defense, right? It's in Sean's backyard. It's in Louisiana, right? So Sean was talking about lynching, right? So in Louisiana, not only in Louisiana, but right here in Mississippi, the Ku Klux Klan, was very predominant in these areas. Even if we look at Oklahoma, I think that's where their roots actually are, the Ku Klux Klan. So they've done a lot of devastating things in the Black community, right? We're going to talk about why the Deacons of Defense was formed. You can get a book. I wish I could have found the book. I have the book Deacon of Defense. It's by Lee Hill. I think it's by the Deacons of Defense book, right? It's a good book. I bought it when I was in Natchez. Natchez has a small museum, but you can get it on Amazon. I think it's a little pricey, but I bought this book back in 2018 at this museum. And I didn't know about the Deacons of Defense until 2018. Never heard of them before. So we always know about this organization that we give credit to, to Black Panther Party, right? We know the Black Panther parties, toted arms, toted guns, right? So a lot of times we always, when it comes to Black men toting arms and protecting their community and their children and their women and so forth, there were people before the Black Panther Party. These were the Deacon of Defense. The founders were Ernest Chill Willie Thompson and Frederick Douglass Kirkpatrick. founders and the purpose, the Deacon of Defense Justice was founded by African-American men in Johannesburg, Louisiana, primarily to protect the civil rights workers from violence at the hands of the Ku Klux Klan and the local law enforcement. So not only at that time was they battling with the Ku Klux Klan, but they was battling with the crooked police or the racist police or the racist law enforcement, right? So let's go back real quick. Ernest, Chill Willie, and Thomas. Ernest Willie Chill, Thomas and Frederick Douglass Kirkpatrick. There was a civil rights group that came to Louisiana called CORE, and they set up a Freedom House. And there was Ku Klux Klan was already starting to raise hell. Ku Klux Klan by that time tried to attack the Freedom House by the CORE. They burnt down a church. They burnt down a school, right? They was burning crosses in people's yards, right? So Ernest Chill Willie Thomas and Frederick Douglass Kirkpatrick, right? Ernest was a military vet. Frederick Douglass was a minister as well as a teacher. And he was also a part of a Christian organization, I think, called the LSCU, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And they both, before forming the Deacons of Defense, they had two separate groups of their own. One that protected Ernest and his group protected the outside of the CORE Freedom House, and Frederick Douglass Kirkpatrick was one who protected people in the community, right? Protected to people in the community. Hold on, let me go back. My laptop on this side done went to sleep on me. But those two are the founding members. So they did things separately before they came together. So they was armed self-defense, unlike other civil rights group in other times, which largely advocated for nonviolent protests, and the Deacons believed in armed self-defense. They provided security for civil rights activists, Black community, and the event. Expansion of the influence. The organization quickly spread it to other towns in the cities in the South, established at least 21 chapters in states such as Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and also in Arkansas. So they spread it like wildfire. But going back to, they were very selective. I want to talk about the selection on how you became a Deacon of Defense, right? You had to have some type of skills. They wanted older men to be a part of the Deacon Defense. Those who have served in the military, military vets. So a lot of them was military vets who were skilled with guns. How already knew how to handle gun, knew how to was already trained in combat, right? So each member was sworn. They swore their life. Once they got in, they swore their lives to protecting civil rights activists, protecting people in their community, and protecting their families. The support of the civil rights movement, the Deacons of Defense played a crucial role in the civil rights movement, ensuring that safety of marches, voter registration drives, and the freedom rides, especially in areas when the law enforcement would not protect demonstrators, right? They also went on to form another before it spread it. The second Louisiana chapter was started in Bogalusa, Louisiana. And those founding members was Bobby Hicks. A lot of people know about Bobby Hicks, Charles Sims, and A.Z. Youngs. They led that chapter as well, right? So they aligned themselves with a lot of people, civil rights activists. They was in Natchez at one point of time doing a person who had a demonstration, right? So they went there to they was actually like bodyguards. They made sure that they drove the person around wherever the person needed to go, and they protected them at those different events that civil rights events that they have. Also, they was also at this particular time doing a civil rights movement. This was a non-violent movement, right? So and Martin Luther King also had an issue with them at one particular time. And Stokely Carmichael, if you remember the march by James Murray, that he was marching from Memphis into Jackson, Mississippi, right? He got shot on the highway, right? He got shot on the highway. So Snick, Stokely, Martin, and others, they began to carry on. The core organization, other civil rights activists took on the challenge that James Murray had to march. This was a demonstration for the march from Memphis into Jackson, Mississippi, right? So they continued the march on, and Snick and Core hired the Deacons of Defense to actually protect them, you know what I'm saying, the full way of the march, right? And this is where Stokely had to convince, because it was also a the nonviolent movement, right? They didn't want at one particular time guns to be associated with the nonviolent movement or the nonviolent civil rights movement. But Martin understood that, okay, they was here for protection, and the Deacons of Defense, they did not evoke anybody. They only was there to protect. So they never agitated any situation. They just only respond when people were attacking some of these civil rights activists, civil rights organizations right there. So there is a small synopsis of the Deacons of Defense. Again, they was the first one with protectors in arms, not the Black Panther parties, but they definitely did influence the Black Panther Party. The Deacons of Defense, they sizzled out. They only lasted for about 4 years. And the reason why they kind of sizzled out, the Black Panther Party, I think this might have been 1962. I can't remember exactly. Might have been 61. I can't remember exactly when the Deacon of Defense was formed, but I know 4 years after that. So it was 64. So 1964. So around 1968, the Black Panther Party started growing legs, and they became more popular. So more people began to look at the Black Panther Party, and a lot of these chapters and the Deacons of Defense began to start sizzling out around that time because of the Black Panther Party's popularity in the Black community at that time.
And Kofi, I want to go along with that, right? Because somebody may ask this, Dr. Wade mentioned earlier, some of the organizations we're talking about that still exist in the little corners to this day. And why that is, and like I mentioned earlier about the popularity of certain sororities and fraternities and other organizations, people that probably would have joined these things back in the day, now you're a young girl coming up, they're going to put you toward the Deltas, the AKAs, or whatever, right? If you're a guy coming up, they'll put it toward the Alphas and the Omegas or whatever, versus back at that time when you had the Deacons of Defense and all these things. These were what I call secret societies, right? They were lesser known organizations. They kind of fizzled out because of the popularity of some of these larger organizations. So you talk about the Black Panther Party, people got to realize this. There were hundreds of Black liberation movements.
Yes, it was.
Hundreds of Black Liberation Army. They had so many different RAM. There were so many organizations out there that had these concepts and principles, right? So that's why these things kind of fizzle out, because so much is happening that was soaking up all these members,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to answer a question real quick in the chat, man. My man in the chat asked the question earlier, Kofi, about if we go down to New Orleans and see where Queen Mother Moore was, and going to these different buildings and libraries and stuff, like, what do we project to come out of that was the question, as far as being the visionary. So for those that don't know, Kofi and I talked about this over a year ago, and Kofi has all kinds of equipment. Y'all know that. He's known for that. Traveling around the South to different historical sites, museums, cemeteries, other kind of historical places, and actually documenting things and making our own documents. Well, we go into these places and pointing out different things in real time and giving you education. The brother Matt in the chat, Matt is a master of doing things like this. I would love to get with Matt out there in Texas and go around, Dr. Wade, go around different places. Love to go to Mississippi with Kofi, look at things. Come out here in Louisiana, do the same thing. Go to Alabama, and then hopefully be able to expand nationally. This is why we don't go around asking for money. We don't go around asking for sponsors and stuff like that. But we mentioned, if you want to sponsor us, We're trying to do some major things in real life. Forget the online stuff. We're trying to, and that thing take money. It takes resources. It takes travel, hotels, camera equipment. These things take something to do. So we talk about money sometimes, talk about getting books and all that. It's not about making us pop off individually. We're trying to do major things for the community, but that does take a level of resource. We live in the real world, right? So to answer the question, that's the project of going to these places in real time, in my opinion.
Yeah, mine as well. Mine definitely is as well, man. And you know, like he said, man, we don't ask for money, but you know, we have said with this podcast, you know, we had 2 people last year to become sponsors and helped us out. This year I wish we would have, you know, but you know, you know, what we doing is we're trying to get out there and do things. We can't do things, like he said, it takes money. You know, it
Yeah.
takes money, and a lot of times we have to work hard and do other things to get the money. But if you support us and you behind what we're doing, and you believe in what we're doing, and you think it can benefit you and your kids and the rest of the world, you know, help us out, man. You know, help us out. We're definitely investing in equipment. I just keep buying stuff, man, and I'm not really recouping. I like the camera. I spent $1,000 on a camera, so I bought another camera because I want to be able to have that high quality when we go out and we document things, right?
Right.
You know,
Right.
and bring it back to the people.
You was in the water with your wife recently, about a month or so ago in New Orleans. You was going to different places. You was documenting New Orleans incredibly well at that museum you went to. And it was a library or something you were talking about.
Yep.
So that's a real time example of what we're talking about. Kofi going around showing you on the walls where the walls saying this, but you got to know blah blah blah. Being able to do that, not the way our favorite word is curation. To be able to curate something, it takes having that backing to be able to do it. And guess what? Kofi and I said it last year. We ain't never said it this year. This is not free. This is not free. So we sitting there popping our shit on the camera, but guess what? It takes resources to be able to get this to put into your head to be able to come on camera and talk real fly and come from this.
X.
Nobody said, "Oh, y'all covering the black parties? Man, take these books." Or y'all covering the black church? Take these documentaries. Nobody telling us that. Me and Kofi last year going download all these Amazon Prime. You gotta rent them.
Hey, you had to rent them. You know, right? Right. And a lot of reasons.
We not going to rent them.
Yep.
This is resources. So
and even
we can tell y'all where this stuff comes from, man.
And even you know, don't forget about the articles. Like even some articles, like a project I'm working on. I just had to buy 3 articles that I couldn't just go on and get it. I had to go to the website and I had to pay for it in order to get it, right? Just to get this information to bring it to the people. So this stuff definitely ain't free.
We really try to hold back on these podcasts. We try to hold back sometimes. I'm gonna go ahead and just say it, bro. It's a lot happening off this camera, bro. It's a lot happening off this camera. And that's just really be honest. I'm sure every podcast does it in their own way. I'm not saying it's just us, but as a consumer of podcasts, just know that. A lot of folks just go to Walmart, go to Dollar Tree, get a camera and the mic, and just press the little button. They just talking. To do the thing properly, it takes resources, man.
Yeah, definitely.
And I wanted to respond real quick to a question in the chat, y'all, that came up about the work from back then and how.
Yeah, I want to hear on that too. Go ahead, Dr. Wade.
Yeah, so like the presentation of it is that it seems reactionary. It seems that way. So that was part of the question. And then the second part is, you know, what will work for now in our time? I do want to say that, you know, part of the reason, which I'm so glad that we decided to talk about this topic today, is that we have know what they did. We have know about these organizations. So we really can't say what they did then won't work. And what I found in my research, that has helped me understand. When I look back and see what they did in these organizations, that helps me plan for here and now to 2024. You know, if I can look back and I see, oh, okay, they had a lot of success doing grassroots. Guess what I'm gonna do? Whatever we create will be based on grassroots. Oh, I can look back and see that they built, you know, service organizations. Oh, I need to partner. That may not be in my personal bag, but that may mean that I need to partner with people who are, you know, looking at homeless solutions, looking at food desert solutions right here in 2024. The issue is, and this is what I want to say from my chest, the issue is we do need to be talking about solutions now, but who wants to be active and involved is the question. We can look at, and hundreds of thousands of people back then was involved. We can host an event right here in Dallas where there's billions of people and maybe 10, 20 folks come out. They may not pay the $10 for the book club. They may not want to do whatever, but me and Sean talk about this all the time. It comes back to finances. Folks will be at brunch every Saturday, every Sunday, happy hour through the week. You know, this is what we want to do. So
you real.
What I've learned is that from those older organizations, how to apply that. Oh, great. We partner with a winery. You like your libations? Literacy and libations. You like your corks, you like your wine, we gonna have corks and covers. So we are applying those concepts that we've learned from our history. You see what I'm saying? You take what you can build with. That's what Matt mentioned too. You take what you can build with. Maybe not every single thing. You know, maybe it's not a lot of us creating childcare or whatever, but we should be. And where those people at? And support them, partner with them, build with them. What we like to do is stuff in silos. Okay, well, I want to be famous, or I want this to go on, so I want people to support me, but then you don't want to support the next person. It's stuff like that. You can't tell me all these 29 organizations, sorry, I'm thinking of another book. All those 29 organizations in these women's movement weren't supporting each other. You know, and you do see about some fallout. So I'm not saying that it was a utopia. You do hear about some fallout, but at the same time, look at the magnitude of what they were able to do with zero resources, look, few resources. They had to support each other. Now we can pick and choose who we want to support, whether they do good, whether they're doing volunteer work, whether they're cleaning up the parks, whether they're trying to get backpacks for students in school. That's what's going on now. But who's a part of it? Where y'all at? Are we outside? That's the better question. Are we outside and committed and engaged like we should be? Yes, secret society or not? Like, how are you tapping in? And this isn't a direct question like, oh, you're not doing anything, nothing like that. Because I know our good people in the chat are already doing their thing.
Turn to the quiet. Turn to the quiet.
You know what I'm saying? The message must go forward. Yes, we are creating interesting ways to draw people in, but they've created out of necessity. Now that we're creating for community, people can pick and choose where they want to come. It's more comfortable in their house and their bed, in front of their TV, with their remote and their libation. You know what I'm saying? So we want people to be involved now. We don't want you to wait, and we want you to create. Hello. Yeah. You create it. You do the thing, whatever your gift is. And that was, I appreciate y'all listening to that, but that was really on my mind to say right there.
I'm gonna get two things. I wrote it down. I plan on going to it anyway, right? But two things on that. Is it responsive? I want to say this because it's not a negative connotation to be responsive. Look at the full name of these organizations. People always say the Black Panther Party. You know the Black Panther Party? It was the Black Panther Party for defense. It was the Deacons of Defense. Now, if you love any kind of fighting sports like I do, or any kind of sport, if you're playing defense, that means somebody is offensively doing something to you or your team, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're not out here lynching our communities, then guess what? We don't need a Deacons of Defense. If you're not out here lynching our people, we don't need a Black Panther Party. We're trying to help old ladies go to the store right quick. We're trying to help kids get free breakfast in the morning. If you're providing those things, you don't need a Black Panther Party. So we're responding to the offense, right? Second thing. Dr. Naeem Akbar, your favorite Dr. Wade, he always said that Black people are some of the most degreed people in the world. Look at all the degrees, right? So how can we use that today in this time as far as what they was doing back then? A lot of us now currently, believe it or not, we probably make more money per year than they did back then. A lot of us are probably CEOs and we entrepreneurs. Come on now, you want to be a boss chick? You want to be a boss so bad? We got all these bosses. We got all these people that got companies now. We have a lot more ability than they did back then to make certain things shake. They couldn't make shake back then. We got more resources. We got more whatever. We got the most Black billionaires, the most Black millionaires. They didn't have none of that in the late 1800s. So what can we do with those things now? Take those principles and apply it to what we have now. Go forward. So that was it.
Yeah, and it's, it's saddening and disheartening that we create all these things and people not being supportive, right? We have developed a complex where we just want to be complainers. We hate the situation that we in, but we don't want to do anything to change the situation. So it's easier to complain than put the work in. So when people be creative and come up with these ideals and build something, try to build something from the ground up, but need community, need more people, right? Nobody want to show up because it's work. It's easier to complain than do the work. So we have become complainers. All we want to do is complain about our situations, right? And then another thing, like you saying, I wish, you know what I'm saying, and people might look at me crazy. I wish they would take everything away from the black folks. I wish that we can't go to their schools no more. I wish we can't go to their grocery stores no more. I wish we can't go to their hospitals no more. I wish we can't work in their farms anymore. I wish they would take everything away from us, because at that particular time, we're talking about the late 19th, we're talking about the 20th century, we're talking about all these different organizations, right? And these organizations, they were successful because they understand community. They understand togetherness. They understand the old African proverb that I like to use: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So they understood togetherness, right? They understood togetherness, right? They didn't understand that is this individuality thing that we have adopted into, right? So we don't want to, if it's not affecting us, we don't want to support it at all. We don't have no interest in it because it's not affecting us directly, or it's gonna affect me and everybody. I just want it for myself. So we have to get out of that mind state. And those people at that time came together because we didn't have no choice. We was all we got. So we understood that can't nobody change our circumstances but ourselves. So we got to work together in order to change our circumstances. So now when we integrated, this is when we have collected this individuality or this individual ideology where we're for self, right? We're worried about ourselves. We're not worried about nobody else. I know when I was growing up, you know what I'm saying, the neighbor didn't turn a blind eye to what was going on in the community, especially if they know that child was doing something. It was a community thing, right? So we figured out something else. We would share it with the entire community. We wouldn't keep it just in our home. We're going to share it with the whole thing. So we have become spoiled, where we hate the situation that we in, but we love the people who put us in these situations, right? So we're going to continue to negate the people who are actually trying to change or make positive change in the community, in the world, because we don't want to work. We have become lazy, and we want to continue to hold on and kiss ass of other people that don't give a goddamn about us, man.
Hey, Kofi, you think if we all got reparations next Tuesday at 5 o'clock, it'd be worse? That's what it sounds like.
Yes,
if we all got a big bag Tuesday at 5 o'clock, our togetherness, a community gonna be actually fractured.
Yes, it's gonna be
if
worse.
I really feel like, man, I don't need you. Like, I got a bag too. But we get further apart versus coming together. What it sounds like to me.
But we'll be broke in no time, because most of African Americans in America, it's a smart, like we look on TV and we see these entertainers, we see these athletes, right? But we see that we there is a small percentage of black millionaires and billionaires. That's a small percentage. It's a small percentage. And even those who are rich in a few years, even like when we look at the athletes, they had to file bankruptcy because they still have that poor man and poor woman symptoms, right? The poor person, and most of us think poor. All we want to do is work to make the money and give it away. That's what the poor person want to do. So
They
we
call it
have that
stinking
poor
thinking.
mindset. So as soon as we get reparations, we're going to give it all right. We're going to give it right back to them. We're going to give it right back to them.
Gucci, Louis, Prada.
Yes, we're going to give it right back to them.
Who want Giuseppe? Who want Red Bottom?
And you know, I have to be, I get it. And that's I love what Kofi said, because some people need to hear it like that. You know what I'm saying? That's why it's so important for that energy that Kofi and Sean are carrying about being creative and like, where's the support? All this is because, again, if the reparations came through, what we gonna do? How many of us spend the few dollars that we got at the Black-owned business? You see what I'm saying? Are you going to the Black-owned wineries? Are you spending time in the community doing things that pour back, like recycle? How is that looking for you? And that's what's important about that. You know, in Dallas, there are so many Black-owned businesses, restaurants, wineries. 2 Chainz just opened a spot down here called S.2. The beautiful part is there are people active. That's why I keep reiterating this fact to see what's going on in your community. I remember when I first moved to Dallas, I was on like North Dallas when I first moved here, and it was hard to find a culture. It was hard to find like what the Black folks doing, what they doing. You had to come to the South. The South is where it's at. But that again, we are conditioned to stay in the suburbs. We're conditioned to be outside on the side. You know what I'm saying? Go into your cities. Go to the city nearest you. Go explore. Go seek out the Black-owned business, the Black-owned restaurant, the Black-owned bookstore. Seek that out so that when the reparations come through, not only are you creating for yourself, but you're recycling your funds to the community and back with the people who are creating these businesses and stuff like that. Instead of being like Sean said, Gucci, Prada, I gotta have my watch, my yacht. I need a Bugatti. I need a Lamborghini. I
gotta get a section. I want to have a section.
Right.
See, look at the mindset. I can't even sit amongst y'all. I want to have a section roped off. So I'm here, but not amongst y'all. I want to have a section. I got my own body. We're not sharing. I got my own body.
And you know what? I feel like some of the newer organizations contribute to that. Some of the newer representations of what we study, because what they don't teach us about these organizations of Black women that was working together. They teach us about the NAACP, where it's about elitism, the haves and the haves not. So that contributes to the way that we look at society through our Black lens. It's like, ooh, we got to be the haves, and screw the have not, screw the people that are poor. We just learned about these organizations that were taking care of the poor. You know what I'm saying? But we want to be the elites. We need to reconform back to some of these old standards of taking care of each other, old standards of community, what our grandparents did and great grandparents did.
I call it fake outrage, right? Fake outrage. Why am I saying that? I told Kofi this in person in Mississippi, in New Orleans, right? You can have all these folks online sharing and posting about the school banning books, and the school taking away African American programs, the school taking away African AP classes. But whenever you have opportunities to be around the authors of the banned books, to support them in person, you're not there. When it's time to support the authors of the banned books and buy their resources, you're not there. So Jay-Z said a long time ago, I'm everywhere, you never there.
See what I'm saying?
You never there. So when we see something, you do something, right? I saw a video last week of Birdman talking to people in jail. I was upset about it in one moment. In the next moment, I'm on the phone trying to make phone calls like, how do we get these guys books? I'm not saying to focus on myself. I'm talking about the mentality. When you see something that's wrong, who could I call that deal with that? Who could I call to get some books down there? Mm-hmm. Our old school elders had that mentality. When you see something, you do something. Don't just share it and post about it and laugh about it. Boy, Birdman wrong for that. No, do something.
True. And partner with people that are doing things. You know what I'm saying? Folks want to partner for clout. Oh, I know so-and-so because I saw them at the club. We turn up. But do you know so-and-so that be out and, with another organization picking up trash and stuff? Like it's important to do both. If we in 2024, I get it. You know what I'm saying? The fads, the trends, the opportunities to be at a Black-owned restaurant, opportunities to go out and do the things that is important because we do believe in celebration and things like that. But what's the balance? What's the offset of that? Did you do some community service today? Did you, find out what, get connected with a local environmental organization. Like, you don't have to create the whole thing, but it is important for you to show up. Your spirit is needed there, not only just for numbers, right? But your spirit, your gifts, all of those things are needed in these organizations. They wait on you. You're what they say in some proverb, your gifts are somebody's blessing, and you sitting on them. You sitting on them is blocking somebody else from they come up or they blessing or their enlightenment. So that's why you're important, not just to be there for the numbers. Your input and your contributions are important in these spaces.
That's right. That's right. Let me bring it on home and land the airplane, like they say, right? My brother in the chat said it. I love whenever these things happen naturally. So he had no idea my next organization I'm highlighting, but he said it in the chat, right? The organization is the African Blood Brotherhood, right? The African Blood Brotherhood. Founded in 1919, the African Blood Brotherhood, the ABB, emerged in New York City after, once again, back to being responsive. They emerged after a period of racial unrest known as the Red Summer. I have a wonderful book that I read on Red Summer back in the day. Radical Liberation, led by Cyril Briggs. The ABB advocated for armed self-defense against racism and the creation of independent socialist black nation. Socialist and nationalist blend. The ABB blended ideas of black nationalism with socialist principles, believing that societal change required both racial unity and economic equality. Communist Party ties. The group aligned itself with the newly formed Communist Party of the USA, using the ABB as a platform to spread communist ideology among black Americans. It was short-lived but influential. Though active for only a few years in the early 1920s, the ABB played a key role introducing black radicalism and communist thought to black communities. And I'm going to the book right quick before I pass it on. This is in the index, once again, the index and the end notes of the book. Other communist-affiliated radical groups attracted black men and women during this period. The most significant was the African Blood Brotherhood, a relatively small leftist group of black intellectuals and activists, established in Harlem in 1919 as Red Summer. Matter of fact, I think the book that I have is called 1919. The ABB had an estimated 8,000 members during this peak. 8,000. Dr. Wade mentioned thousands earlier. 8,000. So once again, this book is called Set the World on Fire, Keisha Blaine. Before I get out of here, I told Kofi not to wait about this. This book, In Search of Sisterhood, Delta Sigma Theta, and the Challenge of Black Sorority Movements, right? So this book is about the history of the Delta specifically, but a lot of the opening chapters, the introduction, give you the reason why a lot of black groups formed at the time. They couldn't be a part of a white sorority fraternity. You couldn't be a part of a white society. So once again, responsive, reactionary, we had to go and make our own groups, right? And last but not least, Dr. Kofi and I, we love the brother Eddie Glaude. Met the brother in person, wonderful, amazing scholar from down south, Mississippi. Kofi? He's from Louisiana. I can't remember which one.
I think he's from Mississippi.
Mississippi. So we know about some of the work he did nationally, his work on James Baldwin. His new book is called We Are the Leaders We Are Looking For. That's a great book. But this book is called Exodus, Religion, Race, and Nation in the Early 19th Century Black America. Exodus. And I found a lot of black groups in this book from that time period. His PhD dissertation, this is where this comes from, Exodus. This is Eddie Glaude Jr., down south home, right? So there's a couple things that I pulled from the shelf, searching up all these black societies, and had a very fun time doing it. Very, very anticipated episode, and I had a real good time today doing this with y'all, man. I can't wait to the next one. I'm going to follow it up, but this was fun.
Yes, indeed. I enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed it. It's on you, Dr. Wade, with the closing. The closing segment is the woman segment. We've been venerating women all today. So our sister gonna bring it home.
Bring it on home.
And we thank you for the opportunity to be here to represent physically through me, the women on the modern day Griot. So I'm about to close it out talking about two women briefly. Okay, Annetta M. Lane And Harriet R. Taylor founded an organization, still staying with the theme of secret societies, called Order of the Tents in 1867. The tents were used by escaped slaves freeing north. Traces of its route connect to the Underground Railroad. And the reason why this organization was important and these ladies founding this organization was important because they had closed meetings and rituals that only tent sisters knew about. And it helped to keep their activity secret. This is going on with what Sean P. and Kofi was talking about. Like, you couldn't just be like, oh, okay, we meeting over here. Lots of things had to be secret. They passed messages to each other. And before emancipation, just leaning a little bit more into Annette Lane's story, she was enslaved. She took care of children and she was a nurse. She taught herself to read and write secretly. I love that for us. I love that for our people. She moved freely about the plantation, passing messages to slaves that were planning to escape. So going back to that reactionary piece, we had to pass messages in that way. And I love that she was a nurse. I think that's a beautiful trade for a woman to participate in. So she was really able to help on so many levels, especially in that time frame. But look how even critical messages were to be passed back and forth between community members. Let's see. So the order cared for the sick and elderly. They buried the dead, provided loans to members when banks refused. They provided shelter, food, and health care. So again, just going back to these wonderful women, Annette Lane and Harriet Taylor, look them up, see what their contributions were through the Order of Tenth and just what set their mindset apart from others. That's what we need to be looking at too when we research these people, looking at what shaped their mind. Sean likes to bring up family legacy, where they came from, who their mommy and dad were, what work they did to create these men and women that we look at now. So shout out, mad love to our ancestors who paved the way. Mad love to their energy that still ignites us right now. So glad that we're learning about some incredible people. Because what, contrary to popular opinion, our folks are incredible. They were incredible 8,000 years ago. You see what I'm saying? And so we appreciate y'all tuning in and being able to tap into this level of an intellectual conversation. There are podcasts going on that you could tap into. We appreciate people doing their thing, but there's nothing like the modern day Griots Podcast where you get this level of intellect between myself, my good brother Kofi, and Sean P. You're not going to get this level nowhere, not as a group. So I just wanted you to say, I wanted to finish by saying, Kofi has a slogan, as I learned, we all learn. That's what this is about. We're not here portraying that we're experts in everything, but we are willing to do the research. We're willing to dig into these books, which we love. We love literature anyway. That's what brought us together. But as I learned, we all learn. Let's adapt that mindset. Uplifting as we climb. Let's adapt that mindset so we can really be the change makers. Because at the end of the day, it's not about the org name, okay, or the popular person in the group. It's about what you do. You know what I'm saying? What we do collectively. So I appreciate y'all for tuning in. And shout out to these wonderful women, Annette Lane and Harriet Taylor.
I want to add on Dr. Wade said about nursing right quick, man. The reason why I have this book, Set the World on Fire, because after I saw the Pullman Porter series on BET, I know tonight the BET Awards, I'll be tuning into the BET Awards tonight, but the series called The Porters, about the Pullman Porters on the trains, a side part to that conversation was the Black Cross nurses. I'm like, wow, is this some kind of fictitious thing he's just making up for the show? And when I looked into it, the Black Cross nurses was the auxiliary branch of the Marcus Garvey UNIA group, right?
Wow.
Yes.
So for those that don't know, my occupation, how I pay my bills, I work in the hospital setting for years. I started going to all these Black nurses one by one in private, like, look, in your whole time going to RN school and LN school and CV, whatever school, have you ever heard of Black Cross nurses? And no Black nurse I knew ever heard of the Black Cross nurses. And guess what, Kofi? There was a large branch right here in New Orleans, Louisiana, come to find out.
Wow.
So I got this book because it talked a good bit about the Black Cross nurses in this book.
I'm definitely going to get that, Sean. We know
so many about the Black Cross nurses. I could barely find information on the Black Cross nurses.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was this month on the tail trying to find Black Cross nurses.
yeah. It's got quite a bit. It's a few books. Marcus Garvey that I have. They talk about them. That's how I learned about the black nurses. This was years
After wait,
ago,
guess
man.
what? They were international. They
Yeah,
were doing things in Cuba. They were
yeah,
doing things over here. They were
yeah,
doing things over
mil-
there. It was international.
yes, millions. When I say millions, millions of chapters. And this was in 1912, 1914, 1916. You hear what I said? 1912, 1914, 1916, right? This was without the internet.
Early,
This was what
early.
without the internet, right? And it's
Around
crazy.
World War One.
Yes, so
Around
it's
World War One.
crazy that none of those nurses. I'm saying, and I'm not saying because I didn't learn about this until 2016. I got the what's one of Marcus Garvey's book? The Man with the Hat. I can't remember exactly. Something with a hat. And that was like my introduction into Marcus Garvey's life and the introduction into the UNIA. I got two in-depth presentations about Marcus Garvey and the UNIA and those different auxiliaries inside of the UNIA actually on this channel. You know what I'm saying? So y'all definitely can check that out.
Female branch about the like the female mechanics.
Yeah,
the female mechanics auxiliary branch.
Yeah, they had so many different
These
auxiliaries.
movements had so much. Even like the Nation of Islam, right? You got the fruit, and then you got the female branch and all that. Like the organizational level that they had. When you really sit down and do some research, really read into it, get past all the fancy stuff you see on the headlines. You really dig into these groups and all the branches that they had, all the executive branches and how it was going. Like it's a very, very interesting rabbit hole, man.
Yes, and I appreciate them because you had people who were Muslims, you had people who was part of different Christian denominations, other different religious organizations. They didn't let none of that hinder them. They all came together, man. You know what I'm saying? Up under the branch of the UNIA, man, and they was able to create so many different things, man. This man even had a ship, because Marcus Garvey thing was the Back to Africa movement at that time, right? So they had so many different businesses. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, ships. They had their own press.
Yes, yes.
I've been years studying. You know what? We can do a whole episode on the Black press, bro. We can do a whole show on Black press. But every major organization had their own press. The Black Panther Party had the Panther Papers. The UNIA movement had their own papers. The boys had the Crisis Papers. Frederick Douglass. They all had their own press, bro. That's amazing in my mind.
Yes.
They had things in circulation, bro, going around the nation. That's incredible, bro.
Yes. Most definitely, man. But again, man, we appreciate everybody, man, who tuned in. What up with it, Barry Payton? You just joining in late. That brother there also from New Orleans. I'll be back down there soon. Yeah, he's from New Orleans. Yeah.
New Orleans? Okay, man.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Yeah, he's from the Gullah Geechee community, man. He actually be in Africa a lot. I think Barry, where you be at? You be in is that Sierra Leone? Where you be at, Barry? Barry be in the motherland for months at a time, man.
Really? I gotta connect with the brother, man.
He's from New Orleans. When I was out there the other month, I wish I would remember. He didn't say nothing until I was back in Brookhaven then. So, but next time I come, I'm definitely going to connect with the brother when I get out there and stuff like that, man. Because I didn't get a chance to go to the Congo Square while I was out there. That was my next spot, but it started pouring down, raining real bad. So we didn't get a chance to go. We didn't even get a chance to go to the main event that we were supposed to have been doing, and that was the literary awards, because the weather got so bad on us. We got wet one time, went back to the hotel, and then when we got back out again, the weather got bad. We got wet again. We said, the hell, we're going back out. So we didn't even make the main reason why we were supposed to be going. But that day we made a whole day of so I was able to go to this library. I was able to go to this museum. And the other thing was the Congo Square, but it started pouring down on us, so we didn't get a chance to make it to the Congo Square. But next time I get out there, I'm definitely gonna go check out the Congo Square as well, man. But anyway, man, we finna get up off here, man. Let's see what Barry said. He said, respect to the Afro Creole culture down in the 7th Ward, hard heads. Okay. But yeah, man, we out of here, man. We greatly appreciate y'all for falling through, man. We had a nice crowd today, man. We appreciate y'all. Y'all could have been doing anything else with y'all time, but y'all came to rock with my intelligent, beautiful sister and my intelligent brother Seanathan Polidore, man. So we appreciate y'all, man. We'll see y'all next time or next month for the Griots Podcast, episode 7, season 2, man. We out of here. Peace.
Go, Griot. Go, Griot. Go, Griot. Yeah, I'm in the city, yeah. I'm in the spot, in the vicinity. I'm the hottest up in the city, yeah, it really is. I studied the ones that was the realest, the illest, that invented that. Talking about Griots, West African passages for the street stone. Adios mio, make it get about the Afro-Latinos. Rock their traditions from Africa's West Central. Let's raise a toast to the ancestors of all. For the knowledge comes in the form of a griot. In the form of a griot.
Hey.